Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Another episode of Led by Life. We're your host. I'm Rafaela, and this is Hannah. Welcome back if you've been here, and hello if you're new. We are on Gene Key 49. We're
You know,
like,
like that's almost we have done 50 episodes then because we did an introduction
oh my
one.
gosh, we've done 50 episodes.
This must be number 50.
This is number 50.
Yeah, yeah.
What what an accomplishment. Never would have thought that I'd make it to 50. And I don't think I ever like consciously thought that like how it would go, but to make it to 50 episodes, I think is kind of a big deal.
I think it's a big deal. Yeah.
How many episodes do you think you've done in your other podcasts? Your podcast?
Well, I know I got to 100 and then I took a break because that was like a huge milestone and I just felt like I need to take a break from this. I just wasn't feeling inspired. And then a few months ago, oh, it was the start of this year, I think I felt pulled back to sharing again. Or yeah, it was a few months ago. So I've done a few over 100.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that I started that end of 2020. So yeah, and when did we start this one? Must have been 2021, 2022, maybe.
22.
20, yeah.
22.
It's been a long process, but I think that it's been what it's needed to be. And I think also that some of them, you read them and they resonate, or parts of them resonate, and we're able to kind of apply it to our life for what we're going through. And it's really easy to talk about. And then other ones, it just feels a little bit like it's not that we don't necessarily resonate with it, but or I don't resonate with it, but
Mhm.
um, it's just sometimes it doesn't feel as clear what's going to come out. And I think that's what we're both feeling with this 49th.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. It is the shadow of reaction, the gift of revolution. That's what it is. And the city of rebirth. It is in the root center of the gene key. I feel like sometimes it actually, now that I'm saying this, helps to like sorry, in the root center of human design. I feel that it helps to kind of layer these pieces together. Um,
Yeah. But you said it's in the solar plexus, right?
you're
You
right.
said the root.
I said the root. I'm not
Well,
even
it's
kidding.
connected to the root
It's
via the
connected to
19th. And that was actually one thing I did want to say about
the
this one is you really feel the sensitivity of the 19th coming through, like that connection, even though he doesn't specifically talk about the 19th.
root. Hmm.
And this is something I'm really appreciating about Richard Rudd the more and more I read is just how poetic he writes. Like I know he is a poet, but you just like it sprinkled throughout each chapter, you'll get these little words that he puts in there like and I remember him saying about the sensitivity of this energy, and I just thought that's kind of very poetic with the connection with the 19th. So it makes up the channel of synthesis.
Hmm. I was
Yeah.
actually listening to a little a recording of Raw talking about the 19th as in preparation for like what in the world I was gonna what was gonna come out today about the 49th. Um and it's in the tribal circuitry. So what I was trying to do, and I messed it up, sorry, is like piece together the layers of
Yeah.
this one. Um, so correction, it's in the solar plexus. Yes, it's in the tribal circuit. Um, and then those are the three frequencies:
Mm.
reaction, revolution, rebirth. Um, and one of the things with this is that it has like this um, connection to relationships and to the tribal relationships. and to family and specifically marriage and divorce and needs. And there was something else that I wanted to touch on about the 19th. Oh, resources and resourcefulness. So it said, like, he was saying that the 54th is more so of a gate of
Well,
like the partner that you pick through the gate of the 54th is going to be somebody who is going to um like support you in your drive to ambition and to goals and to achievements, which is interesting because don't you have the 54? I have the 54, and that feels so spot on. And I hadn't heard that before today. And then the 19th is going to be a gate where the partner you seek is going to you're going to meet with somebody, you're going to want to match with someone who is going to um be a partner of resourcefulness, of like being able to um get the needs of the family met. Yeah,
mm,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it,
emotional needs as well, I would say.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I feel like I really, so my husband has this whole channel
Mm,
and the 1949 and I have the 19 and I feel like he really does meet my emotional needs. And I'm super sensitive, having the 19th, I have this like sensitivity and I feel like that's one area where like he really provides um in terms of like meeting my emotional needs. So that was just a realization I'm having about this like energy and it's tribal. It's very, very much about like the tribe, the family.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you feel that because you don't have it, right? And I'm only saying this because I noticed it for myself. Do you then notice in relationship, specifically like romantic relationship, how, or just intimate relationships, you become reactive?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just
I
because
also
that's the shadow. Huh?
which I have as well. I have the gate of the fighter as well, the
Yeah, so do
38th,
I.
which like just picks fights.
Oh my goodness. It's so funny because Anthony will be like, he'll be like, all right, so are you gonna take off the boxing gloves now? And I'm just like, I didn't even realize I had them on.
And he has this channel as well, right? I feel like we were
He
looking
has
at
the
the
19th. I
both.
think he has something
Okay.
defined in the root on the other end. He is an emotional manifestor, so he does have the 36, 35, but
Okay.
he doesn't have the 49th, but he also has the 19th. Um,
Right. That's so funny.
yeah, be like, I'm
Oh.
approaching. Are you going to take them off? I'm like, okay.
The reactivity is really interesting, isn't it? And I love that he kind of starts this like the shadow off saying that we find the sleeping genetic trigger for the process that begins our collective ascent to higher consciousness. And I just love this notion that like we almost need we need these triggers
Mhm,
um to ascend, to grow. Um but then as you move into like the gift frequency, I also highlighted this. Fewer and fewer humans are victims of their emotional reactions, violence, or sorry, because as fewer and fewer humans are victims of their emotional reactions, violence will rapidly decrease in the world. And it's just like almost this awareness of the reaction of the
yeah.
triggers that then like shifts that energy of being
hmm
a victim of your reactions. Because when you're not conscious of it, you're just the victim of anything that's triggering you.
hmm Well, and isn't the What's the shadow of the 19th? Isn't it codependency?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like needing someone, it is codependence.
Yes.
It's like needing someone to, this is my
Not.
beautiful tabs that allow for
Oh, are
quick.
those tabs numbered?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Have I not shown you this? This is like one of my
No, you
writing.
have. I've seen that, but I just didn't realize that the tabs were numbered.
I wrote little numbers on them.
Yeah, I believe it. I see it.
But the codependence is interesting because it's like needing somebody to be different so that you don't react. It's again that victim consciousness. Like, oh, if they just didn't do that, then I wouldn't react.
Hmm.
But like, then we just become a victim of our own triggers.
Yeah. I remember that because I remember that about the 19th one because we both have it and I have it defined. And when we were learning about the circuitry,
Mm.
I remember just kind of having like a new awareness on how the energy in this channel, because when you talk about circuitry in relation to human design in the gates and really human design in the gates, maybe the jinkies, the energy is all moving so that it comes out of the throat.
Mm. Yeah.
And so it tells a story in its sequence. And when we were learning through it about this in the circuitry workshop that we took, I remember just kind of seeing things clearer for the experiences that I've had because this, whether it's the channel or this gate, actually it's more so the 19th has a layer of addiction as the experience in this, which again with like codependency and trying to keep things at a way so that everybody is pleased or satisfied or just okay, right? And we develop these like really maladaptive patterns to like trying to keep all of that together. um
Mm.
I could see like the story playing out in the work that I was, that I do with those struggling with addiction and codependency, but then also in my own life. Like I've gone through experiences of witnessing or trying to support somebody's emotional need, and then kind of just like it not really serving me. So I really look at it as like I can see how the story plays out, is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I imagine that's like as a therapist, that's something you would need to be pretty aware of and like boundaried around is not always taking on your patients or clients, their needs or their sensitivities or their um, stories as well. Like, you're supporting them. And we talked about this as well, like through I think it was in the splenic center, like that
Mhm.
sensitivity to your clients intuition and what they need, knowing what they need intuitively in
Mhm.
sessions and things. But I also imagine like yeah, there'd have to be this kind of, it's probably been a practice for you in like not taking everything on yourself.
Yeah,
um
and that's the thing. It's like because they're not part of my tribe, like
mm,
it's not a thing. But
right.
talk about my relationships here in my own life,
Yeah,
and it shows up. And I think that that's sometimes what gives me a lot of teachings to share with individuals is that
mm,
um I've been in the cycle of codependency. I've been in reaction. Because right where we're undefined is sort of where we go through repeated lessons. And I've seen my reactions come out in partnerships and in relationships. And um, you know, I think that that's kind of what gives me some understanding because I've had to learn tools on how to not do those things or move into like more of the gift energy of situations. And over the weekend I had mentioned how like, and I tagged you in it, like us talking about this inner revolution. either within ourselves or collectively. And it was because I was having a lot of realizations around the fact that there, I do feel like I've taken so much more of an empowered approach around my emotions and how I respond to, aspects in relationships with other people that I mean, this has been a work in progress. Like, it hasn't always been this way, but I kind of saw um like the break like I was feeling like I was going through the breakthrough of it. Like, wow, we're like on the other end of, not taking on people's emotions or not trying to like make them okay so that I'm okay, or all of that stuff that just kind of was keeping me in like really not helpful patterns. Um, and how it's now just empowered me to recognize that like I can totally be okay in response to the reactions that I have, or like I have a moment to pause before
Mm.
reacting. Or even if I react, which was such a beautiful thing that happened like a week or so ago, even if I react, and maybe you can feel this like when you were talking about like with Alex, that because of my sensitivity, that my reaction is then met with like a groundedness that then I can like work through and get to the other end and get to like the insight and the clarity and like the lesson in it or whatever, or just really be able to like move through that experience much differently than in the past, because my reaction would then meet their reaction and then it'd just be like a freaking battle at that point. But now I'm just so appreciative of like, even if I do react, like it can be held with like a groundedness of investigation of like, where's that coming from? And I ultimately ended up doing that like really quickly for myself, because I was like, why did I do that? This feels so familiar. And it was a familiar experience from a narrative of a story of a thing from X long ago.
Mm.
Um, and so I feel like that is part of like the individual inner revolution that is taking place. And when he talks about how we'll have as this energy and this gene key continues to awaken, that the fear of rejection and abandonment
Mm.
won't have such a hold on us anymore, because we'll know that like we're connected to it all.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
we can't be.
Yeah, you can't be rejected from that which you are, which is like I guess the unity consciousness.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so many things came to me while you were talking.
Beautiful.
Uh, and I think one really beautiful thing stands out is that almost like the empowered individual can be that grounded response for themselves. Like, yes, it's so beautiful if you can be in a relationship that allows like the imperfect reactions to come up without then turning it into an immediate, like, we're just constantly reacting to one another.
Hmm.
Um, that is so beautiful. And I also agree, like, I've come from a past of like, that's what I had modeled from my parents. I think there was a lot of emotional volatility, and ultimately my parents ended up getting divorced.
Same.
And then I was in a very unhealthy relationship. I ended up getting married, and that dynamic was constant fighting, reaction, just meeting each other's trauma. I've heard that like said before about triggers and reactive in relationships. You're just like meeting each
Trauma
other's
bonding.
trauma. Yeah, right.
Mhm.
And then ultimately I left that relationship and got divorced. So, again, this kind of notion of like marriage and divorce. And But in my new marriage now, that my second marriage, it's a much healthier dynamic. It's not to say we don't react. It's not to
Mhm.
say that there's no triggers, and I'm actually realizing are so different, even though we have the same values and we're very similar in a lot of ways. We're also extremely different. We have a lot of the electromagnetics. But there's this willingness to like always repair and always to like
Mhm.
get there to that like resolution and make sure that like both of our needs have been met. And I think that that's really beautiful. But I also really like what you said about how like you're almost doing it with yourself, like meeting the reaction with that groundedness. And it's
Mhm.
almost like that practice of self-compassion and witnessing like the observer, the non-judgmental observer in that moment of like, oh, okay, here's this old story coming up for me again. Let me just witness it and be with it and not react to it and like make that bad, make that wrong, right?
Mhm.
Because I think that's kind of what's happening if we're reacting to one another and triggering one another is we're making the other wrong. We're saying like
Yeah.
my way is right and you're wrong. Um, Whereas if we can like practice just witnessing it without that judgment, then I suppose that's kind of bringing in that groundedness that you talk about. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it happened so quickly. So, and I kind of just want, I'll share a little bit about it because I feel like this is one of those moments where um practicality is really important. Like actually hearing how other people move through things is really important, not just like the fancy explanation of it all, you know? Um, and so he had said something, and I immediately got defensive. Did the thumbs up go? Is it on your
yeah,
thing?
were you doing like a thumb?
No, I wasn't, but whatever. Okay, anyway, Zoom things. Um,
Sorry. Say that again. I got distracted by the thumbs
so
up.
that's okay. So he said something, and I immediately got defensive.
Mm,
And then it was asked like where did that like what was that about?
mm,
And so then I said the thought that I had that was underneath the defensiveness.
mm,
And so then this is one of the times where like he very lovingly uses humor to kind of like soften me up because that's kind of what I need. I need some I'm learning that like you can't really like be in your suffering when you're laughing. And for me that's good because I can be too serious and in it all and I just don't always need that. So and that kind of like lightened me up to see what was happening. And this will be different for everybody. Like, somebody might not like that approach. And for me, it's just helpful right now. Um, and so then I like said honestly, like what the thought was. And then, we talked a little bit about it. And there was like, okay, like I see that and whatever. And I'm in the middle. This is all at like 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to get myself ready to leave the house to go to work.
mm,
And so then I leave and I'm walking to my car and I'm like, what was that to
mm,
myself? Like, what was that? Like that, why did I react that way? And because I was like, because that I like I've been here before. I know this. Like, what is this? And so
mm,
then I just get in the car and I was driving and I'm like, I felt controlled. I don't like that. And it just, it ended up we did like I did share a lot of these things shortly after to bring the person more into my process because I think when we're in an energy of talking about reactivity and um our emotions, like this is a really good um not really good, but this is an aspect of like tribes and marriages and divorces and partnership and relationship and intimacy. Like It is
Mm.
really in there of like, how do you bring somebody into the inner world of your emotional landscape, especially when you don't have the words, but then you then have an understanding, right? Like, how do you bring somebody into the process? So, I would just honestly was like, I got triggered because of this. This is how I felt. And none of that's true, right? Like, that wasn't really what was happening. But that's how my body reacted from, just previous experiences in my life. Um, so I share that to say, like, this didn't, yes, I've gone to therapy, and, I've learned things, and I've had different practices and tools, but this was like an actual micro moment that I can share of, like, I didn't sit down and journal it all. I didn't have time to sit down and meditate about it. Like, I wasn't going to go take a run either. Sometimes, like, in real time, when these things happen, you can just have a very gentle, soft, loving conversation with yourself. And I think that that's what allows for, like, when he talks about this inner revolution or revolution, it's, yes, it's on a collective level, but all of these things, are happening within us individually to then spread out on a collective level. Um, and so, like, when things come up in relationship and you get triggered and you want to react and you want to, these things happen, um, sometimes it's just a very gentle conversation to yourself, and driving in the car,
Mm.
just asking yourself some
And
questions.
and almost realizing that it's like a younger part of yourself that's been activated, because that's something that's helped me to understand like emotional triggers and reactions is even just the word, it's like reacting something that has happened
Mm,
most likely from a very young age, like that's created this wound perhaps, or this like emotion that got repressed, or something that didn't get fully felt, or didn't have that space to have that loving, compassionate like inquiry when you were younger, is then coming up again and resurfacing, reacting now, so that we can then give it that loving
yeah.
attention. And like that's really helped me to reframe reactions or emotional triggers, because as someone who can feel things very deeply and be very sensitive, and I've had a lot. I came to human design not realizing that I had so much emotions, so many emotions that I had suppressed throughout my life.
Mm,
I found it when I was in my 30s, and I had this backlog of emotions that hadn't been felt. And so for me, it's been like 5 years of feeling. And that's been like pretty overwhelming, because at times, because it kind of doesn't end, it just
mm,
keeps going. But I will say that like it gets less scary to
yeah.
approach it. Like there's not really that avoidance anymore for me. And there's just this totally different relationship with feeling and emotions. And I actually had a really interesting, so another thing I wanted to mention was I read the book Letting Go last year 3 times, because I just found it so helpful because it's all about, he talks about, I think he created this like emotional scale
Mhm.
of consciousness. Um, I can't remember the exact words of it. And essentially like he talks about the mechanism of letting go, which is allowing the emotions to come up and to be fully present and to feel them until they exhaust themselves, and then like relinquishing them. And um, so I've been practicing this for the past year or so, longer now, and I had this emotion come up the other day when I was with Alex, my husband, and it had been triggered by kind of both of our behaviors a little bit, or like the dynamic in our relationship, which was like saying we're going to do something and then not doing it. And then for me, I just had this trigger come up, this overwhelming feeling, and it was this story of like, oh, it's not going to happen for me. Like the things that I want in my life are not going to happen. And then I thought that like it's almost like I thought I could control, the outcome by making us do these things so that we could get this result, right? And my husband is a lot more passive than me in that sense. Like I'm a quad left. I've got very active arrows in my chart and he's a quad right. So that's what I was saying before. Like we're
Mm,
very similar, but we're also very different. So his approach to things is often a lot more laid back, a lot more passive, a lot more like go with the
experiential,
flow.
probably. Yeah.
And I'm very much more like, no, we've got to tackle this head on. We've got to do something like, and that's where this controller part kind of comes in, who's like, if I can just control everything, then everything's going to be okay, and I recognize that's like a protector part. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. The whole thing was that this dynamic and our differences brought up this trigger that it's not going to happen for me. And it was like a really, really big emotion. And I started to feel it because that's my process now. I'm letting myself feel things as they come up. And he kind of swooped in and he's really good at holding space for me. Like he's very, very good at normally like putting his hand on my heart and like helping me when I'm in that moment of like overwhelming emotion. But I think that he got a little bit triggered because he was kind of like, well, don't manifest it. Like don't buy into that. And I had to stop him and be like, no, I need to feel this right now.
Yeah.
Because in feeling it, I could see that it wasn't true. It's like that fear of rejection or that idea of separation. Like in feeling it, we can see that it's actually not true. Like
Hmm.
that fear that all my wildest dreams aren't going to come true. Like that's not true, but that's what the little child feels in that moment of like it's never going to happen for me or
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and
No.
that's like the ultimate rejection. And I think I shared this with you last week is this like lack of trust in self and source, this like disconnection from trust.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. I think they're all very beautiful pieces to like experiment with all of the different like energies that we've gone through and that we've moved through and the different um like ex I just feel like the Gene Keys really gives you such a like it's like a dictionary of experiences. And
Well, it is. Yeah.
yeah, 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 it really is. Of the whole human e- spectrum. And I was gonna say to your point is like sometimes I'll notice that it might not even be so much like a really young part, but you'll be surprised when it shows up and it's like, oh, this was like 3 years ago. And that,
Mm.
that story, I guess in time wise, like it is a younger part of you. But um sometimes these things come up like as an adult, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that
I, go on.
well, I was just gonna say, like, when there is a practice of like self-discovery and awareness and just like kind of like exploring these things, the gaps then become smaller. So it's like we're not like always looking back to like 7 and 14 or whatever, like as we continue to evolve and grow in this process, like, oh, now I'm looking at something from like when I was 20 something. And that I feel like that's a lot of what I'm experiencing now.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel as well that I've kind of been revisiting things that I was going through. Like I often feel like things work in 7-year cycles. Like that's just kind of, and I know he's talked about this before, but that's something that I've kind of become very aware of is in my own experience. And I feel like I think back to where I was 7 years ago and I'm going through a lot of similar things. It's like the
Are you at
spiral.
that age?
I'm
Yes.
I'm 35 now. Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking of like I didn't know if you were 7 years from your last Saturn return.
When is it? Oh, yeah,
Like
probably
28,
28,
28,
29. Yeah.
29,
Yeah, yeah.
somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, so it
And I
makes
do, I
sense.
feel like a lot of themes have been coming up again, and it's almost been this feeling of like I'm going backwards, but I'm not because there's this different perspective and there's
Hmm.
this, and it's like you don't stop getting triggered, or perhaps you stop reacting so much, but things don't stop being challenging at times. It's just that
Yeah.
you learn how to navigate it a little bit more with a bit more wisdom, I think.
Yeah.
And a bit more sovereignty as
Well, and
well.
I feel like that's essentially like what a revolution is.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
a progressive change towards something in a completely new way.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you're describing like a micro revolution. And then we have
Mm,
those on like a more collective societal scale. Um, but if I haven't said it before, I really feel like it all starts with the individual, and then that's how we see it go outwardly more and more. So I think conversations like this kind of well, I hope conversations like this bring people some sort of like compassion for themselves of wherever they are in their journey of self-discovery and experiencing the waves of emotions that come up and just our human condition and patterns, and hopefully the stories and the experiences that you and I share like inspire people to do whatever it is that they feel they want to do for their ascension, their evolution, their growth, whatever you want to call it. That's my hope. Yeah.
yeah.
So we're trucking along on this journey.
Next up, number 50.
Number 50. Here we come. Thank you
Here we
all
come.
so
Have
much.
this-
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was saying thank you all so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.